Hey guys, look, it's not raining. It's really a beautiful morning here today, but the rain is coming back in a few hours and it's going to be here for 3 days. I hope everyone's having a great Saturday. For me, it's actually still Monday. And if you think that sounds weird and confusing, try being the person who has to keep all that straight. But there's a few jobs that have to be done today before the rain comes. And one of them is at least figuring out a temporary fix or band-aid for the coop flooding situation. Many of you mentioned a French drain, and yeah, that's probably what we're going to have to do, because I wasn't even thinking when I dug this out, because generally here in Southern California, management of water and rain and things like that is just not something we ever think about, or at least me. So now in hindsight, yeah, this whole coop is sitting in a low area. So putting in French drains all the way along here is going to be a necessity. However, the chickens brought some of this on themselves. In doing what they do, which is digging and moving dirt around, in the coop, they created, or on the edge of the coop, they had created a berm where this wire was, where you really couldn't see through. It was all kind of piled up, and outside too, they had put dirt. And so there was a berm in there holding the water that leaked in there. So I was out here on Saturday afternoon in the rain, digging that away, and yeah, the water then started just completely draining out. But for the time being, I have to figure out a temporary solution, at least for the next 3 days, and that rain, to keep these girls dry, because they were literally ankle deep in just wet muck. So at least for today, a quick fix is going to be, I have some plywood back there that's supposed to go up on the roof. I'm going to just lay that down in the coop so that it's above the level of the ground, and then they can keep their feet dry that way. So that's just something that's a quick job. A little bit more involved job is to take down some weeds, or I would say a field, on this side of our fence and on the other side of this fence, which is still our property all the way over to that tree and that bush. And it's, more than knee high. The problem is they're starting to develop their seed heads. And so before these mature, I have to cut them down. And since it's going to be raining for the next 3 days, now is as good a time as any. It looks like it's a bit dried out from yesterday's sun, and the morning today we had sun. Look at these acacia trees blooming yellow. They didn't bloom last year because we had cut them back, but wow. So I'm gonna grab the weed eater. I'll set up the camera because honestly, as the person doing it, it's really satisfying, and I kind of want to see it sped up to just kind of see these swathes of weeds being taken down, and we'll see if you find it as satisfying as I do. All right, so while I wait for the batteries to charge, I'm gonna head up here and do something with this coop. I have grass all over my face. Okay, so this is not a permanent fix. Obviously, this is a band-aid for the rainy time, or at least the next 3 days. But it does get them up and off of the wet wood shavings that have been soaked for the past several days. And I still have to fix this drainage here. Look at these lilacs blooming here. I've never grown them before, and they smell so good. And I just noticed the red buds are swelling. Their buds are swelling. And all the roses I've planted are already sending out new shoots. Look at those yellow flowers up there. Love that. So while we're waiting for their batteries to finish charging, I think what I'm going to do, since I can't perfectly plant these 2 fruit trees I got when I went to the nursery last time, I can't plant them perfectly the way they're supposed to be, but we're also getting a few more days of rain, and I don't want them to just sit here in this bag. So I'm going to heel them in, and that's basically, well, come with me and I'll show you. As long as your ground's not frozen and your ground isn't a swamp, you can temporarily put them in the ground just to keep the roots moist and hydrated, even if it's not time you're in your area or you're not ready to plant them just yet. So just dig a hole big enough to contain the root systems, and then lay them in at a 45-degree angle and cover them up. Also make sure to mound the soil up so they're not in a hole. That will protect them from any heavy rains that you get. If you're not expecting rain, give them a good watering, or if you haven't had a ton of rain, give them a good watering. A next level gardening tip brought to you by Next Level Homestead. And I'll actually give you another one. These are all of my cold hardy flower seedlings, and they are getting really wet. I mean, day after day of rain, the hail that sat here and melted. So I'm gonna let them enjoy the sun, or whatever sun we have left today. And then this afternoon, before it starts raining, I'm going to put them under our patio cover. Now, they won't have very much light there over the next couple of days, but that's not as important as keeping them from drowning. Plus, there's not gonna be a lot of light anyway with all the cloud cover. So they'll stay there a couple of days, and then they'll come back out into the sun. Okay, I'm taking another break while the battery charges. I've got 2 batteries, but one that came with the weed eater, it's not the greatest. I bought another one that was not cheap. It does last a lot longer. It takes a lot longer to charge though. But I wanted to show you, it's always interesting looking at your property from a different angle that you rarely see it from. Like, I even remember when I had my last house and I would go over the neighbor's house and look from their backyard into mine, and it was just so different. And on this side of that fence, that's not supposed to be there, it almost feels like I'm trespassing on someone else's property, even though this is mine. But let me show you the property you're used to seeing, and I'm used to seeing from over here. So I'm over half done with the weed eating, but take a look over there. It's the vegetable garden. All right, you plant identification specialists, I need you on this. I found some interesting plants. They almost look like an allium, but they don't have the oniony smell. And I pulled one up. I pulled this one up right here, and it's got a bulb on it. And then there's a bunch up here you can see with the larger leaves. There's a whole kind of group of them here. I don't know what they are. I don't remember anything blooming here last year. There's something blooming right here. But it doesn't have those leaves. Kind of does, but not to the same extent. Unless these already bloomed and then the leaves come. Anyway, maybe when they bloom, I can get my Plant Snap over here, Plant Snap identification app on my phone. Or if you guys know, let me know. Now I'm gonna go back over on the other side into the vegetable garden and kind of show you, I made a line with the weed eater to see where the end of the Mediterranean garden will be. Okay, so to the left of the vegetable garden, over there is where I just was. So these stairs will go down, path, stairs, And then this fence, you have to imagine it gone. Imagine these trees gone. And then this path will continue out and kind of curve through this area, kind of snake around. And you can see where I've mowed it down. That's kind of the line. Then there'll be a group of trees all along here. And then up here, all the way to the top, will be the Japanese garden. Probably doesn't show up well on camera, but this is some of the hardest rain that we've gotten. Obviously the drain is clogged again. To be honest, I'm really afraid to go up and see what I might find in the chicken coop. So incredibly tired of this rain. Ugh. And now more hail. Dang. So I'm on my way back from taking Noah to school. It's the next morning. And we had a frost warning last night here in March, which just crazy to me. So Emily and I went out and covered up all the tropicals again. And now this morning, we actually did get frost on our property. So not as bad as, you know, down below or on our way to school. It's so cute to see kids, little California kids, picking up frost off the ground and making balls out of it like it's snow. But I'm sure I would do the same. So yeah, we had certain things frosty, nothing important, nothing it's gonna hurt. Actually slowing down quite a bit here because there's several inches of water across the road. Last night, the road right past our house was closed because they were, it was completely covered with inches of mud. And so they had tractors out there, you know, pulling that off the road. So we are definitely not used to this, but it is what it is. So I'm home now. We'll see what I can do. Today is going to be sunny, so that's exciting. Yeah, we still have frost on our roof. It's 37 degrees outside. It is going to be sunny today, and I don't even know exactly what the forecast is going to be for the next several days. I don't think we have any more rain coming, at least before the weekend. I think the weekend is going to be clear. I might have seen a little bit of a chance next week. So we'll see what we get to do today. I am going to be filming the planting blueberries in containers video for the Next Level Gardening channel. So if you're interested in that, that'll be coming out. That came out yesterday because today's Saturday for you. It'll be coming out yesterday. So anyway, let's get this day going. All right, so it is the next day. Yesterday was kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a lot of nothing. But we are headed down right now to the Del Mar Fairgrounds. Mm-hmm. And what's it called?
The Great Junk Hunt.
The Great Junk Hunt. So we're gonna see if we can find anything for any of the various gardens or spaces around our house. You're looking for inside the house, probably. I'm not. I'm looking for outside. So we'll take you along with us. Okay, so we actually we couldn't film inside the event yesterday. But even if you could, it was so crowded, packed, cramped, a little claustrophobic. We were expecting something much different. We ended up getting some stuff, which I'm going to show you, but we had gone to something similar a few years ago, and it was 10 times this size, at least. This was just kind of crammed into one building. I don't know if that's how this particular one is, no matter where it is, or if it was just the venue. I mean, Del Mar Fairgrounds, it's the first time I've been, there was lots of buildings around. So anyway, we did get something. There were several things that we were on the fence about. Emily found a few things that she liked, but most of it looked like something that they had just purchased at Hobby Lobby or Home Goods or something, and then brought it and just marked it up double the price. And so we didn't get those because why bother? But there were 3 things that I found that I had to have. There were some more that were, they had like tribal masks, which I thought would have been really great for our tropical garden, but they were like $350 each. And I'm like, no, I can make something like that. Anyway, so we did have some finds. The first thing is this vintage watering can, which works. I tried it out last night. It's got a great rose on it, lots of tiny little holes, so it pours out nice and soft for seeds. I think it'll also just look good sitting in the cottage garden. The most expensive thing we got, which it wasn't that expensive, but out of all 3, this was the most expensive. And you're gonna laugh, but I had to have this. It's 2 pulleys, so there's a little pulley here and then a big pulley here. This thing like weighs like 30 pounds. And this, I actually was looking for old vintage pulleys with hooks for the tropical patio cover. On the edge, hanging over the Monstera deliciosas, there's 3 long beams that hang out, and I thought it would be cool to do something with these just to further expand the theming over there. So I still need 2 more of these if you know where I can get some for a really good price. And then the last thing we got was the best thing. Actually, it was the first thing we got when we first got there, and we're glad we did, because we had at least 6 people come up to us and say, "Where'd you get that? We love it. How much did you pay?" And then when I told them, they were like, "What?" It was a really good buy, and it's just so good looking. It's this vintage bird cage. It kind of has a little bit of an Asian look to it. So this is for the tropical deck. I'm not sure, we got home after dark, so I didn't even go out there to try it out, but I'm thinking of it hanging up in there, or maybe even just sitting on one of the beams that goes across. Let's go check. So I'm trying to figure out, it's kind of big compared to a lot of the lanterns. So I'm actually really glad there was one that I had my eye on after we got this one, and it was bigger than this. And so I'm actually glad we didn't get that, because I think it would have been a bit overwhelming for the space in having to mix and mingle with all of these lanterns. So the biggest lantern I have is just a little bit smaller than this. And eventually I do want several of these old bird cages kind of hanging in and among the lanterns. But I think because I only have one right now, I think just sitting it up here might be the best option. And I kind of want to see it from the house too, from the sliding glass door in the living room. So I'm thinking maybe just for now, just like that. And I'll come out and secure it later, but yeah, I like that. So I'm going to end the video here. We've got a good week coming up. It's partially cloudy every day, but absolutely no rain. Nice, workable temperatures outside, I think in the 60s. We only dip into 39 degrees 2 nights out of the next 10-day forecast. So things are hopefully on their way up and out, and we can uncover the tropicals, prune back some of the tropicals that need to be pruned before they can start their growth for the year. So I'll be able to get back to work on the cottage. So we are having Easter at our house this year, and that gives me a deadline because I really want that cottage done. The roof, the stucco, the paint, everything by Easter. And I think that gives me 4 or 5 weeks, but I love a deadline. I need a deadline. And so that's the deadline. So you'll be over the next few weeks seeing lots of progress on the coop and the cottage garden in front of it. We got lots of flowers to plant up there. So I'll be doing all that on the Next Level Gardening channel, but I will see you next week.